Association. Jolly good. I'd like to report a fault with my butler, please.
Oh.
Yes, I'm afraid I do need him quite desperately, old chap. You see, my filly, Lady H, she's out for the season. Cruciate ligament injury, old boy. Cruciate of course, I am a lord. I can't be expected to do these things on my own. What happened? Oh, I accidentally tripped over and bludgeoned the butler around the head repeatedly with a lamp.
Oh.
Absolute accident, old boy. You know how these things happen. I'm sure you hear about the same thing all the time. What do you mean he's not under warranty? I need a butler now. Send me a replacement immediately.
Oh.
Lord Hillsborough, for goodness sake. You can't expect me to do these things on my own. How dare you get back here, old gentleman? Head off! Oh, bugger. Jeeves, bring the penny. Oh, of course not. Sorry, Jeeves.
There's a chance here, a great save by Turner from McClare. Mike Hannon, a terrific goal by Sheridan.
Brexman against Jones. Get in.
You could have two goalkeepers in there that would have trouble with saving that.
Good afternoon, good evening, and whatever time you're listening to this, welcome to the Wednesday week. We'll start with some apologies. We're going to have apologies from the man himself, Mr. Lord Hillsborough. From what I believe, what's the female equivalent? Is it Lordess or Lady Hillsborough?
Lady Hillsborough.
Lady Hillsborough.
Lovely. The delectable and fragrant Lady Hillsborough.
I believe Lady Hillsborough's laid up at the minute. I believe she's having a bad time. So, and I think Jeeves has put in some annual leave. So I think Lord Hillsborough is doing all the work currently. So we've got apologies from Mr. Lord H. We'll be hearing more from him on this episode later on. But as always, we've got the Beast Man. Are you there, Beast?
I'm here.
The Beast Man's here. He's going to be telling us his in-depth analysis on the Owls of Sheffield Wednesday, if that's a term.
No, it isn't.
I'm hoping
the Owls of Sheffield Wednesday.
I think that's a term. That's a sort of name that gets shoehorned into like a rubbish football song where you have to make something rhyme. So we are the Owls of Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's also one of them things that you hear on American television programmes talking about English football. These are the Owls of Sheffield Wednesday.
I'm trying to get a hashtag started, lads. That's all it is.
You've been down south way too long.
That's how they refer to us down here. I tell you what, it does annoy me when they just refer to us as Sheffield. I may as well get tattooed on my forehead. There's two teams in Sheffield. One of them not being very nice.
Well, let's be right. I'd rather they called us Sheffield than the Owls of Sheffield Wednesday.
Telling you, it'll catch on. And we've also got Eddie as well from Wednesday. Hey there, Ed. How's it going, man?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks, mate. It's a nice start to the show, isn't it? It's a bit more informal. None of his lordship, being a man of higher standing, etc. It makes me feel a little bit on edge. This is a bit more like a pub conversation, isn't it, between three idiots?
Yeah, three chaps from different corners of the country.
Yeah, we have somebody looking down on us. He's always looking down on us anyway.
He does, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
We can speak openly now. In fact, I'm going to undo my belt and pull down my fly, and I'm going to sit here with my hands down my shorts.
I tell you what, look at that. 2 weeks we've been talking about your hands down your shorts and your nipples. Oh, you inside out.
Is it all of this a cry for help, Beastie?
It may be. It might just be my age.
So anyway, chaps, the rot has continued, as it were. Burnley has given us false hope. And at a time where Hull City weren't performing very well in the league, as you may have noticed last week from my Hull City in-depth analysis, we've ended up losing at what used to be a fortress at Hillsborough. So chaps, what do you think happened? I'd like you to fill me in because I spent most of my weekend, well, all of my weekend, up Mount Snowdon, actually on a mountain for a stag do. I don't know who picks a mountain for a stag do, but that's what happened. But chaps, tell me what happened.
Oh, I tell you what, Fudge, I would have sooner have been up atop a Welsh mountain than at Hillsborough on Saturday. It was another. It wasn't a bad performance. Let's not get a bit crazy about it. Let's not overstate the fact that we've lost and all this, but it was another one of these games where for probably 70 minutes we gave as good as we got. It wasn't a particularly inspiring game, but we were certainly no worse than Hull. And then, same story as we've had the recent half dozen games or so. Individual mistakes, positional errors. We go to sleep for something, and there we go, 1-0 down. And again, as of the last few games, we haven't shown enough up front to mean that those sort of mistakes don't punish us. So, yeah, it's worrying times. I don't think anyone should overstate the fact we're not getting hammered, we're not getting absolutely annihilated. The players don't look outclassed. It's just silly mistakes, silly errors, and yeah, we go away with no points, and we're staring down the barrel a little bit at the moment.
The problem is, though, Eddie, I didn't make this game. I don't miss many, as you know, throughout the season. Unfortunately, this was one of them. Or fortunately, as it turns out, I did miss this one. But did we look like scoring at the other end? It's all right saying we're making defensive errors, but did we look like scoring this time?
Well, see, interestingly, DJ went with that same 4-3-3 that sort of proved to such good effect on Tuesday night. And it looked solid. Make no mistake about it. We didn't look like teams were running through us. We didn't look like we were really in any significant danger. But, of course, the flip side to being quite compact is that you don't have that sort of expansive attacking threat going forward. And, Hull dealt pretty easily with most of what we threw at them. It was interesting to see that Jay Bothroyd out wide again for, well, certainly the first hour. He moved inside a little bit later on, but Jay Bothroyd outside again, got a lot more time on the ball, got a lot more touches, and you could see the quality there that he was trying to actually bring through in the attacking play.
It looks so much better out there, doesn't he?
Massively so.
Rather than playing him up front, down the middle on his own, he looks so comfortable on the ball out wide.
Yeah, and he was dictating the play in a way that we needed, because really with that sort of formation, there was precious little else that we could do. He was the fulcrum of virtually everything we did going forward. So yes, it looked like an improved performance in terms of solidity, but if things didn't pan out for what Bothroyd was trying and what other players were trying to get from him, and then move on to carve out real attacking opportunities, they weren't coming off, which meant we were pretty toothless up front. The closest we got to the goal was Lehrer, again from a set piece, header cleared off the line. And realistically, that has been the story of our season. We've looked at our most dangerous when we've managed to get bodies forward, and increasingly that appears to be, from set pieces. So there's definitely a worry there. There's a worry that we can't carve out, we can't create opportunities that seriously trouble defences at this level.
Well, I've seen that header of Lehrer's that was supposed to have been over the line. I don't know what your view of it was at the time. Where you're sat on the cop, it'll have been as good as mine, 'cause it was at the opposite end, wasn't it?
But yeah, you can't see anything at the time. I've got to assume that it was cleared off the line. Yeah, it looks like there might have been a case for it being over, but if we'd have got it, brilliant. But I'm not sitting there saying it's a travesty that we haven't got it. There were far worse decisions that went against us or didn't go for us that I'm much more angry about. Realistically, we could have had penalties. We could have had an awful lot more out of the game from that point of view. But as always, I'm not going to sit there and complain that we're not getting the rub of the green, because it's a cyclical thing, isn't it? There are times, and we all know that, where we can go 10 games and you get a lot of decisions going your way, and decisions that are probably not even 50-50. So I'm not going to sit there and make excuses for that. The reality is that you've got to beat the team using the attacking power that you've got, and we didn't really have that.
Well, the problem is that I've seen that chance, and I know a lot of fans are up in arms about not getting it, but there's absolutely no way the referee can give that from where he is and the angle that he sees that, and because of the bodies in the way, it's difficult for the linesman to see it. But when you look at the whole player's face, who is the one that's knocked it out, he definitely looks a little bit guilty, shall we say?
Sheepish,
very, very sheepish.
Don't talk to me about sheep. After 3 days. And speaking of that, chaps, at the risk of sounding like I've been completely out of touch with life, who did Bothroyd play up front with? What formation did we go with? Who did we have on the wings? Would you genuinely fill me in? Because I've not even seen the Leicester City loving that is the Football League show with Fudge there. So would you fill me in on going forward and that sort of stuff, team selection? Because I believe Danny Mayer got a run out as well, no?
He came on later on, didn't he? But no, the formation was effectively exactly the same as it had been at Burnley, with O'Grady, straight up and down the middle, and Antonio and Bothroyd providing the threat from the wings. And the interesting thing was for me, I suppose, the disappointing thing for me, is that everything that seemed to work against Burnley in terms of, yes, the increased time for Bothroyd, the movement for the balls that Bothroyd was then playing in, that brought dividends on Tuesday night, they weren't there on Saturday. There didn't seem to be the motion. There was an awful lot of times where either Bothroyd or Antonio were getting into good positions themselves, creating opportunities, and then having to hold the ball up to wait for support to come through from the midfield. I suppose you've got to lay that at the responsibility, not only Chris O'Grady, who sometimes found himself behind the play a little bit rather than being that point man, but also Rhys McCabe and Ross Barkley, who it didn't really stream forward. Given that they've got that, they had that cover in the form of Semedo all the time, that they had a bit more licence to get up with play, and they seemed very slow to do that at times, which is disappointing. But I don't know whether there'd been a slight tactical change made by Dave Jones and told them to sit a little bit more, because certainly there was no question that Hull weren't playing through us. They weren't getting through. They had got no joy all day at trying to get through the middle of us. But maybe that was Dave Jones specifically telling McCabe and Barkley, hey, don't rampage forward. Let's go with a front three and see what they can do between the three of them. And you guys hold back a little bit. But
Are you still of the same mind that I am, Eddie, that Dave Jones isn't that far off getting us right? I know that sounds daft. I know the more we talk about it, the longer the run goes on.
Yeah.
But I just feel that we aren't that far off. We aren't too far off being a reasonable side.
No, I absolutely agree. With that. And, as I say, for 70 minutes, we showed that we were at least a match for Hull. I'd go so far as to say that if the game had finished on 70 minutes, they'd have said, creditable draw between two sides, not particularly inspiring. If anything, Wednesday slightly shaded it. So, we were at the races throughout, and frustratingly, it's those individual mistakes, it's those positional errors. Mattock, I'm not going to sit there and be like a lot of people have been since Saturday and said, can't believe it's another mistake for Mattock, get him out of the side, he's not going to wear the shirt, etc. But clearly, there is something happening on the training ground that isn't transferring into Joey Mattock's head. And that has to be fixed, because it's a huge exposure for us. If you put all your eggs into that basket, you've got to be able to deliver when the moment comes, and Mattock lost his head, found himself out of position, and there it was, one pass and it's in the net.
Well, didn't JJ try and transfer something to Mattock's head at the end of the game?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, probably the thing that worries me the most. It worries me, but also sometimes I think, well, maybe it's not such a bad thing, is that there are this sort of bubbling under of discontent in the squad. Now, I wonder whether there are some players who are frustrated that it's not going for the team, while them themselves are putting in a pretty decent shift, or whether there is legitimate rivalries, bad feeling in the squad. I don't know, but certainly of the last 2 or 3 games, there've been reports that there's been disharmony in the squad, and
I'd say that's a fair point, that, Eddie. I mean, bear in mind, like you said, whether they're disappointed for the team or they're disappointed personally. Now, I got back, and I just found out that we've not won in 8 games, and then I look on Twitter. Jay Bothroyd is telling me about what a fantastic time he's having in Dubai. he's tweeting pictures of his hotel and his pictures and his swimming pool. I'm thinking, surely we should be on a bloody training ground 24/7. I appreciate there's a break coming up, but wow, the last break didn't go well for us. It broke up all momentum that we had. And I think from the last international break, I don't think we've won since, have we?
Well, let's hope that it breaks up the momentum that we've built up over the last 8 games.
Well, God, I can't agree with that more. I hope it gives our squad an opportunity to gel. And like Dave Jones keeps saying, and like he keeps bringing up, and every press conference he keeps saying, there's always that, we've got a lot of new faces in here and we need to let them to gel. Personally, I think that's all tribe. Because I tell you what, I've played for a lot of Sunday morning football teams and I've slotted straight into most teams. Do you know what I mean? No, let's not have this nonsense. You either play football or you can't. You know what I mean? But But I think there was a great point you made there, Eddie, earlier on about when you said, "Oh, God, I've actually forgotten the great point that you made."
I'm glad I'm so memorable.
I've actually got to back you up there, Fudge. I've forgotten it as well.
No, that was it. It was about saying that.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, well,
I'm modestly going to accept the fact that it was possibly the best point made so far.
Yeah, without doubt.
Things that went well that haven't gone well the game after. For example, we tried this formation against Burnley. It seemed to work going forward. The week after, it's not gone well. Miguel Llera is great going forward with his free kicks. When was the last time he stuck one in? We seem to be having fixture after fixture where whenever it goes well, that just seems to be a one-off. That just seems to be a fluke.
Well, yeah, it certainly seems that way. But I've thought back a lot of the last few weeks. I've thought back to, let's be honest, the majority of the last 10 years. There have been a lot of times where a Sheffield Wednesday side has gone on a very, very disappointing run of form, and you feel like you're not getting a rub of the green, and you feel like there's no consistency at all, and you feel like you say, something could work one match, and you think there's the light at the end of the tunnel, and then the next match, you try the same thing, and it goes horribly, horribly, horribly wrong. So we've all been through this before. I suppose it only really hurts this time because we know there's something so much better to come out of this squad, and we know that this wasn't meant to be the false dawn. This was meant to be the actual dawn. So yeah, it hurts, and every game that goes by when we don't see it turning around, it becomes more and more of a bloody hell, this is serious, rather than this is just a blip.
So are we of the thinking now then that that this season, however early on we are in it, it's more about consolidating our position into the Championship, or do we still hold that belief that we might be in and around the front runners towards the back end of Christmas?
Well, it's both Sunderland, I think, and Crystal Palace have been in worse positions than we are this side of Christmas, and both been promoted, haven't they?
Well, yeah, there was Reading last season. They were bottom of the league, so it's not a lost cause. But I mean, Beastie, what do you think? What are the fans saying? What's the you're in touch with fans, and I know Eddie, you are as well. I get a couple. It's the same old faces for me. But what about what are the fans saying? Are they banging the drum for Jones out, or is it a bit too soon? Or a lot of them being a bit sensible, sort of saying we're not going to get anywhere by sacking managers like we have done in the past? I think
the problem with this state of affairs that we find ourselves in now is the older you get, the sort of more numb to it you become, and it tends to. Or it seems to me that on Facebook and Twitter, the younger fans are more frustrated with it than the older end. They seem to want things to happen straight away, and I understand that. I've been there, and at times we all get a little feel of that. We want it to be our turn straight away. We don't want to wait. We've waited long enough, but now the young ones are already thinking Dave Jones has had plenty of time to sort it all out. They think that whatever he's doing, it isn't working. They think that he's got his own favourites and he's not picking certain players because they're not his team. There's all sorts of conspiracy theories, and a lot of them, they want him out. And it's hard, or it's becoming harder to fend off that feeling. The longer we go like this and the more mistakes we make, the harder it is for, shall we say, the more mellow fans to bat off that argument.
Yeah, and it's. I've got all the sympathy in the world because let's not forget there's an entire generation of Wednesday fans, and Fudge, you and I were around the same age. Beastie's considerably older, listeners. We remember we were there for the last time that Wednesday were a truly good side. It seems to come around Sheffield Wednesday once every 30 years. You get a decade where you're a pretty good side. And we remember the last time that happened. So I think we're maybe a little bit more sanguine about it than the younger fans, because all they've had is rubbish. Their dads have told them about when we were good, and all they've had is rubbish interspersed with brief moments of joy. So I can understand their impatience because they've not got anything to keep them warm on those cold winter nights. Those memories. However, they are a bit mental they are a little bit mental in the way that they express their opinions, to the point where I can't go on the Wednesday-related match day sections of forums anymore because it just makes me angry. It makes me angry that there's human beings with whom I share a forbidden love for Sheffield Wednesday Football Club,
the Owls of Sheffield Wednesday, I think the final they're called there, Ed.
Yeah, the Owls of Sheffield Wednesday. And yet they seem completely incapable of stringing together a coherent sentence, let alone a coherent argument. So, it's, as V says, it's getting more difficult to be positive, and it's getting more difficult to say, come on, let's give him time. It's stupid. Knee-jerk reactions aren't what's needed here. Because even I'm sitting there thinking, bloody hell, what if he has lost the dressing room? What if they won't play for him? What if this team just, will not work together? We have to change something because otherwise we'll be back in League One. I don't want to have those thoughts in the back of my mind, but something has to change fairly soon. Now, I still believe that Dave Jones and that squad are good enough to compete in this league. I don't know what the missing piece of the jigsaw puzzle is. At the end of the day, Dave Jones is paid a considerable amount of money, probably as much as Jeeves gets paid, to be honest, to answer that question. And so, for his sake, and for the sake of his continued employment at Sheffield Wednesday, he has to find the answer to that question. But I'm certainly not going to make it any harder for him to do that by booing his players, booing his selections, and going on the internet and saying he has to go.
Absolutely, but let's make no mistake about this. We've got a chairman now who can make all the right noises. In fact, he has made all the right noises today, and he's come out and...
dreaded vote of confidence.
Yeah, he's given him the dreaded vote of confidence, but...
Oh, Dave, it was nice knowing you. Oh, Dave.
To be fair, no football fan in the world wants to hear that phrase, do they? But we'd be stupid to think that Milan has not got some sort of contingency plan for this already in mind. It can come out publicly and state his love and his support for Dave Jones. But if anybody thinks that he hasn't got some sort of backup plan in place, you need to think again, because without a shadow of a doubt, he will have.
I tell you what this reminds me of. It reminds me of when you talk to some Geordies who were about early 30s. And you listen to the Newcastle fans, and they blame Kevin Keegan for giving them a false sense of security. You know what I mean? You go, you're like, when Newcastle down the championship, and like they were good, I can't believe it, I was down in the championship. And like you kind of go, you were nobody up until about 1995. Who the bloody hell were Newcastle? And I blame Kevin Keegan. Obviously, I blame Millwall as well.
Yeah, Millwall caused it, deep down.
But I blame Kevin Keegan, for Newcastle. But like, it's kind of like the same thing with Dave Jones. He gave us this hope that we were absolutely nothing short of invincible. And
well, come on then, Fudge. You're obviously not as mellow as me and Eddie.
Yeah.
Right? So you give us your views on Dave Jones from the heart, right?
Yeah.
No flannel, don't stump fence. You tell us where you are with Dave Jones now.
I think we should stick with him. I think it might be a sign of age, like you said, Beastie, but I think if you'd have asked me 10 years ago, I'd have been like, we've lost 8 games, what's the matter with you? Of course he's got the gut. It's a no-brainer. But we've got to be realistic. I mean, it was only the Wednesday fans that were tipping us for automatic promotion. You read every paper from the start of the season where they do the season preview, and we were tipped for like 16th, 15th on average. We have just come out of League One, and I think a consolidation mid-table finish wouldn't be an utter disaster. I'd very much like us to push on after that, and if we don't, then I'd seriously consider Dave Jones. But bear in mind, Dave Jones he's got previous in this league of getting up there and thereabouts with the winners. And I say, keep the faith, brother. It's happening with the Owls of Sheffield Wednesday.
But the complaint against that about Dave Jones is that he's only done it before when he's had a lot of money to spend.
He's got money to spend now. Let's not beat around the bush. I mean, I think one of the best things to come out of that. Do you remember that documentary where they were talking about buying the excuse me for swearing, Sheffield United, and there was Brian Robson and the Japanese businessman. And did you watch that?
It's a wonderful hour of television. Probably the greatest bit of comedy that Channel 4 has put on in recent years.
It was amazing, but the thing that came out of that for me was that Brian Robson said, if you buy a club with a big following and a sleeping giant, as it were, and the best thing about that is that somebody went, what, like Sheffield Wednesday? I love that. And then the guy went, no, Sheffield Wednesday have just been taken over. If you, Brian Robson said it'll cost you $2 million to get out of League One, it'll cost you $5 million to get out of the Championship, and to stay in the Premier League, you'll have had your bonuses and stuff like that, and you have to spend about 10 to 15 million to stay in the Premier League. Now, I think that's actually quite sensible. I think £5 million will get you out of the Championship.
No.
But I think we're that on wages, and I'm a bit concerned how it's not all of a sudden kicked in for us. Do you know what I mean?
No, not only should you be a bit concerned, I think you're absolutely barking. $5 million will not get you out of this division, not by a long way.
I think we had a wage bill of $3 billion, didn't we, when we were dicing with the Scunthorpes of this world under Brian Laws down at the bottom of this division. So no, I take the point. I think noted functioning alcoholic Brian Robson knows a lot about football. So he's absolutely right when he says if you're looking for an investment that has the minimum investment required for maximum return, Sheffield Wednesday is the one. Of all the teams that aren't in the Premier League anymore, Sheffield Wednesday is the one where you have got the chance to hit the jackpot. But you've still got to get them up there to hit that jackpot.
Oh, you're right, because as soon as the success comes, the fans will flock back. But I think this is a great point. I know I keep bringing it up. It sounds like I'm after sponsorship. But FIFA 13 came out the other week.
Fudge, hang on, no, hang on. It's not real.
No, it's not real. But listen, what happens is, when you log in on your online account and you select Sheffield Wednesday as your team, we are the 5th best supported team on everybody that's bought that game.
Yeah, they have the online league, don't they? You say which team you support, and then they have there's sort of a point system. Everyone that's playing all the online games, etc. And Sheffield Wednesday is always consistently up in the top 10, which is unbelievable. Yeah. It's amazing considering how. But to be fair, maybe the fact is that all the fans are so bloody depressed from what's going on in real life, they go off into pretend fantasy world of FIFA.
Eddie, they've ruined it. They've ruined it, Eddie. What they've done this year, this I can't believe the time that the game came out and the form that Sheffield Wednesday are in. They've brought in an online system now where if a player or a team are doing badly in the real world, you can turn on the form of the team on and off. So if you turn on team form, I got spanked 4-0 by Sheffield United the other day because I turned form on.
Well, I think you're just a terrible player.
I am quite terrible at it. I'll not lie to you. I'm not very good.
I've got to interrupt you two girls here. I've got to.
We'll take one next week.
Fudge, you really have got to get yourself back up north, right? Because you are turning into a lady, right? Get yourself a whippet, get back up here, get some gravy on your chips, right, and sort yourself out.
I know. That's the only time I see Sheffield Wednesday win is when somebody else is controlling them recently. That's what it is. But Jay Bothrow is the star player of the team, just in case you wanted to keep up with that.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is an urgent appeal on behalf of Lords without butlers. Can you imagine how hard it must be for a poor lord who, through absolutely no fault of his own, has lost the services of his butler? Just think. Ironing. Washing up. Awful to think a poor lord would be without a butler. So what we're asking you, ladies and gentlemen, is just for a little bit of spare change. For just £400 a week, you too could sponsor a lord and keep him with a butler. Please, don't let the lords go and have to do their own work. Sponsor a butler today. Thank you.
So
we're digressing considerably, I think. Here,
we're well out of it. So we've had the vote of confidence. Milan Mandaric turn up with a vote of confidence. Are we reading between the lines on that? Do we trust him? Do we believe him? Are we meant to trust the person that looks like Hoggle from the Labyrinth? What do you reckon?
You've got to trust Ian McKellen will play him in his life story. I'll tell you now. You've got to trust him. We've had a few fans have had a few doubts about him since he came in. Every now and again, we weren't happy when he got rid of Megson, the timing of it and everything, and the way it happened. But we've got to trust him. And more than that, I just cannot emphasise it enough. We've got to trust Dave Jones, especially whilst ever he's employed by Milan, we have to trust him. We have to get behind him. Because as soon as we start breaking ranks, the whole thing goes to rat shit.
Absolutely. and let's not forget it. When it comes down to it, there are only two parties here who really have a vested interest in seeing Sheffield Wednesday succeed. One party is the fans. That's us. We love them. We can't wait to be able to walk down the street proudly proclaiming that we're supporting a top team again. And the other is Milan, because he's sunk his hard-earned cash into it. And he's an old man who's not going to have too many chances at doing what he loves. And what he loves is football. And so this is where we have to come down to this. It doesn't matter where Milan's motivation is from. And let's be honest, his motivation is profit. He wants to make a killing out of this and have some fun doing it. But his aspirations align with our aspirations. So we'd be stupid to do anything less than trust him 100% completely. And let's be honest, it's his money and it's his neck on the line. So, he can do whatever he likes. And it's our job to back it effectively.
Okay, so let's speak hypothetically then for a minute. Let's see if these younger fans, as Beastie calls them, let's see if some of these younger fans get their way, and we unfortunately, and against the wishes of what I'm guessing all three of us, we get rid of Dave Jones. Now, surely Mr. Redknapp's name must have been mentioned in Owl's Talk on the forums and things like that, or on Owl's Alive or on Wednesday. Somebody must have mentioned Harry Redknapp. What do you think? Who would come to Sheffield Wednesday? Who's out there? Who's available? Who could we poach? What about Mr. Di Canio, for example?
Well, Harry Redknapp's available, but there's absolutely no way on earth he'll come up here. He hates coming up north. I mean, there's no way he likes gravy on his chips, is there? That man is a jelly deal man. There's no way he's coming up north. And to even contemplate him coming to the club, it just don't make sense. Somebody said to me the other day, anybody who isn't just a little bit excited about the thought of Harry Redknapp coming to the club is lying, right? Well, that's fair enough, but by the same token, anybody who also isn't a little bit scared about Harry Redknapp coming to the club is also lying, because you get both with Harry Redknapp.
Yeah, you do. I mean, I spent a lot of time down in Southampton, and as you can probably imagine, Harry Redknapp's not the most favourite of people down in Southampton. I don't know if you remember that. What did he do? He left Portsmouth because of fallout with our chairman, now chairman, went to Southampton, ruined them, and then went back to Portsmouth.
Yeah. Well, in the same way that Danny Wilson will eventually return to us.
Oh, is that Agent Wilson?
Yeah. It's just all part of the deal, isn't it?
I tell you what, though, somebody must have given him his orders wrong, because at the back end of last season it looked like he was going to do us.
No. You've got to make
Agent Wilson. For more orders.
Yeah, you've got to make it look convincing at least. But the other one that people are talking about is Mad Mick McCarthy. Now, all right, fair enough. Mad Mick's bought into the whole Yorkshire thing. He is as Yorkshire as they come. He's got a whole team of whippets, right? That lad is as Yorkshire as I am. But there's no...
Which I can confirm is very Yorkshire.
But there's no way on earth I could see him being a Wednesday manager. I mean, when we were giving him stick, I think he was Wolves manager, and we were giving him some stick, and somebody said to him, I see you were getting a bit of stick from the Wednesday fans, and he said, well, it's Wednesday, isn't it? They used to boo me when I reversed out of my drive. Don't get me wrong, I love to hate Mick McCarthy. I don't actually hate him. He's one of them. He's a proper character. I do actually like to listen to him because he is proper Yorkshire.
You're going to kill me now.
He's straight down the middle.
You're going to tear me apart.
Go on,
I can't get on with Dickie Bird. I can't get on with Michael Parkinson, and I can't get on with Jeffrey Boycott, and I can't get on with Mick McCarthy. Why? Because they're all what I call professional Yorkshiremen.
No.
Do you know what I mean? They're famous for being from Yorkshire. Just like, for example, you get it down here and all. You get, like, for instance, Danny Dyer, Dave Winston. Do you know what I mean? Just people famous for being Cockney. Do you know what I mean? And I just can't get on with Mick McCarthy. It's like he'll be waving at the cop, but his nose will be pointing at the north stand.
I'm with you. I'm on board with Parkinson. He's more barky than Parky now, isn't he? He's absolutely lost it. But Mad Mick, I love it. You can't beat a Yorkshire rant. And Mick he just carries a big bag of Yorkshire rant around with him wherever he goes. And anybody that does that is fine in my book. But I just don't see him being a Wednesday manager.
So was there the main names on the forums that were coming up then as a replacement, hypothetically, for Dave Jones?
Well, they're the two, and mind you.
So nobody mentioned PDC. Nobody mentioned the Mad Italian himself.
Yeah, one or two have mentioned him, but.
What do you think about that, Eddie? What do you reckon?
You know what? When Di Canio was at Hillsborough, hands down, he was the most engaging, friendly, wonderful human being that has ever pulled on a Wednesday shirt. I can remember at the time I used to, for reasons which I won't go into because they're too long, I used to have to go from the north stand round the pitch to the south stand at the end of every match. So chances more often than not, I would bump into Paolo. And as a young man who, meeting one of my heroes, I was still a little bit nervous around him. But within about half a dozen games, it was like we were old friends. He was wonderful. It used to get to the point where I'd be on Ecclesall Road in Sheffield, and he'd be in Nonna's having a espresso or a cappuccino or whatever it was that he drank, and he'd beckon you in, and you'd have a chat and all this sort of business. What a lovely, lovely man. I used to think fantastic. And then it kind of all went wrong for Sheffield Wednesday and Paolo Di Canio. And I'd like to think, because of his hot, fiery Latin temperament, etc., that he's a man who holds a grudge. And I suspect he probably still holds a very, very deep grudge against Sheffield Wednesday for not putting up enough of a fight to defend him.
I tell you what, for me, though, I think he had more of an issue with Danny Wilson than he did with the club and the fans, etc.
I think he did, but then you look at the comments that he made, after he'd gone to West Ham and after he'd kind of become adopted by West Ham fans. And I think most neutral football fans will associate Paolo Di Canio with West Ham far more than they ever would of him with Sheffield Wednesday. And I couldn't help reading some of it like it was an indirect dig at us, the Wednesday fans, because he talked about being accepted and how much he loved the atmosphere and the way the fans had taken to him, etc. So yeah, I think he's a proud man. Do I think he's a great manager? No. You know what? Other than the fact that he used to be a great player for Sheffield Wednesday for a season and a half, I don't really think he's of the calibre that we should be looking for. I think the problem is that right now there's slim pickings as far as managers are concerned. If Milan Mandaric has got his head screwed on and he's looking for a contingency plan, I think he needs to be looking, thinking outside the box, let's say, and looking further afield. I wouldn't be looking at the same old list of unemployed managers at the LMS.
Let me chuck this one in. Keeping it current. Who lost the job today? Bolton Wanderers. Owen Coyle.
Yeah, there's no way on earth we want Owen Coyle at Sheffield Wednesday. No way. If what we saw from Bolton, ours, is what they're all about, then I don't see that we're upgrading from Dave Jones. Definitely not.
No, do you know, I'd be inclined to agree with the Beast. I think he's much of a muchness in the same mould as Dave Jones. I think he's got experience in the Championship, and I think when he took the Bolton job, I think he deserved it after what he did at Burnley. But let's not forget, Bolton were bloody rubbish last year.
And the rubbish this year, that's why they got shut of him.
This year, so they've got shut. So you've got to think there wasn't any longevity in the appointment of Owen Coyle at Bolton, and to be honest, I'm surprised he lasted as long as it did. But like Eddie says, I think there are some slim pickings of managers around there, unless you go somebody random like what Wolves did with that guy that I couldn't even tell you his name.
Stoller Solback and
Stolly, yeah, it sounds like
Stale, that's his name, isn't it?
Stale Stollen.
But anyway,
the last Danish in the shop. I'm
going to move it on, and Beastie, I've got to come to you for this.
Right, hang on a minute. Right, I've still got this image of Eddie strutting around the perimeter of Hillsborough, right, in his young man suit, right, and I've got this music going in my head. I pictured him like John Travolta, just stalking Paolo Di Canio, and this, like, disco music in my head. We go, pa-pa-Paolo, pa-pa-Paolo.
Yeah, that's effectively, you've just reenacted it there.
Yeah, that was a nice
if a crime had been committed, then Nick Ross would have got you in and you'd have set that scene absolutely perfectly. I will tell you one thing, one little anecdote from my time doing that though, was we used to, a lot of the time we'd get balls and we'd take them to the squad to get signed because we were passing and they were coming out, etc. And one occasion we had Stephen Haslam, who'd just broken into the Wednesday side. And so we're asking the players to sign the balls. And then we get to Haslam, and I say, you're right signing this ball. It's for, kids' charity. And he looked at me, literally like I'd just made all his birthdays and Christmases come at once. Because no one had ever asked him to sign anything. He was like, what do you want me to sign, along with all these real footballers? And at the time I thought it was quite endearing. But actually, how self-aware was Stephen Haslam that he actually instinctively understood that he was stealing a living? He wasn't actually a footballer.
And he must be some kind of prophetic genius.
Yeah, lovely skin though, Stephen Haslam. I was always impressed by the state of his skin, I thought. I'm not kidding, right? This is something, ever since I first saw him, I know what you're thinking, right? Why did I think about his football prowess, right? But he had beautiful skin. And when we saw him recently at Hartlepool, it's still the same. It's absolutely perfect, like alabaster.
I feel sorry for Stephen Haslam, and he's getting a rough time. But bear in mind, who did he have in that squad at that moment in time when he broke in to look up to? The person that played the same positions that he did, the person that he was going to be there, lauded as his replacement. It was Peter Atherton.
Yeah, the all-time Premier League leading appearance record holder.
Is he really?
Peter Atherton, yeah. So it's something like. At one point, he played 274 games or something in the Premier League. Unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, it was a victim of circumstance, Stephen Haslam. But anyway, speaking of youth rank, team, developmental squad, or whatever you want to call them, players coming into the first team. I was there at his debut when he was 17 years old down at Southampton. We thought we had a hell of a player here, Mark Beavers, Beastie.
Well,
it upsets you, doesn't it?
It does. It does upset me. And we've spoken on here quite a few times this season about how well he's performed and how consistent his performances have been this season. And it were a shock when he were dropped front side, to be honest. But to see him now sent out on loan again, when we're still struggling in defence, well, words fail me. I can't believe that. I think he's the youngest as well. It's certainly the youngest central defender that we've got, and we're sending him out.
Well, I'll tell you what it is for me, Beast, and we did it last year as well. Clinton Morrison, we were wrestling with Brentford at one point. We sent Clinton Morrison there. We were up against MK Dons. We sent, was Potter there first? We sent Beavers there, didn't we?
Sent Beavers there, certainly.
And then now, I think at this end of the championship that we're in, Millwall are going to be around it, and we've sent Beavers there as well.
Yeah. I take all that on board. Sending them out to your rivals is not good. But I'm more concerned about our defence. And you can't tell me that a young defender cannot fit into that defence. A young centre-half.
Lara and Taylor, who aren't exactly spring chickens in terms of footballing years, are they?
Well, so far, the best tackles that I have seen from any of our defenders this season have all come from Beavers, and they have been absolutely outstanding tackles. So, I haven't seen any of the others do tackles that come anywhere near what he's done. And
irrespective of anything else, I can't believe that when we've got, like you say, a veteran cohort of central defenders, none of whom are blessed with any kind of pace whatsoever, we then have the one player who probably breaks the mould in that a little bit, and we're sending them out on loan. So now we have no variation. We can't do anything different. All we have is big lads who run quite slowly. So they might be great at being big lads. They might be great in the air. They might be strong in the tackle. They might be physically imposing. I'd like to think that Mark Beavers is pretty much all of those three as well. But he also has a turn of pace, and they don't. So it just seems short-sighted to me.
And it was also referred to in Michael Gray's column. I don't know if you only saw that a few years ago. Michael Gray was the guy who used to write on the BBC website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He referred to Mark Beavers as the only man he knew in the world who could eat an apple through a letterbox.
But did you just refer to Mickey Gray as that bloke who writes on the BBC website?
Yeah,
As opposed to former England international winger.
I'm not a fan of Michael Gray. I never was.
As opposed to Michael Gray, who used to play for the Owls of Sheffield Wednesday.
Sheffield Wednesday, yeah.
I loved Mickey Gray. He's so fine, he blows my mind.
I'll tell you, my favourite story about Mickey Gray was that he said something quite disparaging to Colleen Rooney, and Wayne Rooney chinned him. Wayne Rooney's given him a slap, apparently. If you Google it, it's all there.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
next week, more football rumours.
in summary, lads, what we're saying is Dave Jones is out in the next 24 hours and we're breaking the bank to get Rafael Benitez in, yeah?
Yeah, well, it sounds that way, yeah.
That sounds on board. Has anybody got any new business, chaps?
Not really.
Oh well, that's a positive note to end on then. So right, chaps, I'll knock that on the head there. Stay tuned. In about 2 or 3 minutes, we're going to have Lord Hillsborough back on, and then we've got Judge Fudge coming on. I've enjoyed presenting with you, chaps. I feel like an anchorman. I feel like Colin Murray on Fighting Talk tonight.
You feel like a what?
An Irishman.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what it's famous for. Sports Liverpool, randomly. They all do. And anyway, join us next time. And Beastie, they can get hold of you on Twitter, is that right?
Yeah, get hold of me at Twitter, @Beastie_, or contact me through alsalive.com.
And there's a lovely picture of you on there as well, Beastie.
There is. It's my campus pose.
I was very disappointed that I didn't see any nipples on there.
No, but there will be in the new website, which is coming soon.
That's Beastie XXX.
Yeah, nipples.com.
And I think, yes, judging by your picture, Beastie, your missus was right. You do have no lips. And Edward, we can get hold of you on Twitter, yes?
Yeah, of course you can. It seems a bit bizarre, actually. For a man whose Twitter handle is @sausagearms, I'm the only one who doesn't have to actually explain the punctuation or whatever in his name, because we've got Beastie _, we got Lord H with a 0, and Fudge and Dave. And we don't even know who's Dave. We don't even know who he is.
Dave, have we?
Exactly. So @sausagearms, very, very simple. If you can't get hold of the others, probably because you spelt it wrong, or you're talking to Lord H's alter ego with a bloody driving test in America that he keeps telling us about, then yes, come to me.
All right. Well, chaps, join us next time on the Wednesday week.
Oh, that's a sign-off, old boy. That's not a sign-off. Let me show you how it's done. Don't forget, then, ladies and gents, you can get all of us over there at Twitter, @TWWcast. That's @TWWcast over there on Twitter for all your Wednesday week news. You can also email the show, and that's twwpodcast@gmail.com. We'd be happy to hear your views, as always. Of course we would. And, of course, we are back up there over on iTunes. But if we may ask you just a little bit of a favour, ladies and gents, while you're over there on iTunes, please do subscribe so you do get the feed every single week without having to worry about downloading it. And also, if it's not too much trouble, a 5-star review would be absolutely wonderful, so we can help to spread the word of the Wednesday week and get us internationally renowned. Absolutely. And so here we go. We shall see you very soon.